Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. Let's get started with our hosts, Linda McKissack and Dana Gentry.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. I'm Linda McKissack.
I'm Dana Gentry.
Hey, Dana. I hope you had an amazing birthday. Looked like it was so fun.
You. It was the best. Yeah, I will say, Adam knocked it out of the park. Well, first of all, I didn't know if the day was going to start great or not because he woke me up and had me read those 40 letters and I was a wreck, sobbing. And halfway through, I was like, I need to take a break. I needed some TV time out. I was like, can we go get some lemon water and have a break for a minute and let me wake up? Because I was like a wreck. You know what, Linda, though, when I talked to Terry about this on my call this week with her, with my coaching call, sometimes I wondered if you're ever like this. I think because I'm so used to doing stuff for everybody, I didn't know how to receive it, kind of. It made me a little uncomfortable.
Yeah. You know what? I totally get that. My whole life, and I read something somewhere that really helped me, and I still struggle, but it helps me a little bit, was it said, when you don't allow people to do things for you, you're cheating them. Because I thought, what's wrong with me that I am so uncomfortable if people say nice things or if they want to do something? What is it? So I'm sure it stems somewhere back a long time ago that we never fixed something. Who knows what it was? But, because what happens is when you're a kid, you start trying to adapt to whatever your living environments are. And so then all of a sudden those are habits that are in your adulthood, but you don't know where they came from. That's just kind of who you are. But I absolutely struggle with that. I'm much better. And one thing that helps me is to just take a breath.
Yeah.
And be okay and uncomfortable with the uncomfortableness of it. But wherever I read that time, I'm still bad. I mean, somebody say, hey, you want me to get that box for you? No, I got it. Yeah. I mean, I wanted to let them get it out of their mouth. And I'm like, Linda, I really want them to get that box for me, or that would be okay. So I really learned to say, okay, if I just pause a minute.
Yeah.
And you're not doing something to someone if you say yes, you're actually doing something for them.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to think too. I think it was just and I felt this a little bit when my dad died too, such it's an overwhelming feeling of gratitude. I was so grateful and I felt so blessed, but it was almost so overwhelming with it that it made me, I don't know, it was just weird. It was just the weirdest feeling, but you're also so grateful. I was so grateful for everybody that wrote the letters but it was just the stuff people were saying, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is just a lot.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we don't see the impact that we have sometimes.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I think because it's so important to us, it does carry an emotional load.
Yeah.
Honestly. Because there's certain things I can't even talk about them without crying. Like the region, I cannot talk about the region without having tears. And it's because it's been so important to me.
Yeah.
And I care so much that it carries a heavy emotional load with it,
Yeah. Yeah. Makes total sense. Total sense.
Interesting. Well, you probably need to take some time and go back and reread. And, and I think too, sometimes our imposter syndrome makes it really hard, to take in whatever. But I struggle with that also.
I think that's very true. Yeah. Very, very
I'm a lot better than I used to be, but it's still uncomfortable, but I've learned to be okay with the uncomfortableness of it.
Yeah. And then I was thinking too, I love to do that for other people. So I'm sure those people loved to do it when they were doing it for me. So I was trying to think about that feeling,
Yeah. It's so funny. Yeah. I sent, I totally know what you mean. And 40 is a lot. I mean, can you go from one day at a time, Adam? I mean, it's a lot of appreciation first thing in the morning without coffee or anything.
I know. I was like, oh my gosh, can I get my Ollie Pop or something? Let's take just a break.
Yeah, that's great. Well, that's awesome. Well, you should probably take time and read them.
Yeah. I will go back and read them all the time. I still have them all on my nightstand. So yeah.
That's great. Okay,
Yep.
so I promised to share some notes from John. John, I thought, was on fire this time at Exchange. And
Yeah.
I barely even got, I mean, I have so many just starting out, even from John. We could probably do 10 podcasts on everything that we learned there. But I hear John a lot. So I don't know if maybe sometimes I'm not ready for some of the things, or I've never heard them before. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But some of them I felt like and I'm sure he gets older and wiser and he sees things differently. So that's probably why it feels so new. But one of the first things he said is when opportunity comes, it's too late to prepare.
Yeah.
I think people all the time want opportunity, but they want to know what the opportunity is and then go get prepared. And you and I have talked about this before on the podcast.
Yep.
And then sharing is what makes good ideas great ideas.
Mm.
And when I read this one and reread this one, what I thought about is I've always heard the thing, be a river, not a, I don't know, it's not a pond, but a reservoir. Does a reservoir go round? Okay.
So,
Okay. Whatever is round and can get stagnant, don't be that. Be a river. In other words, share what you have, let things flow through, that kind of stuff. So that's what I thought of when it says sharing what makes good ideas great ideas. And I think another reason that's true is because when you share it with someone else, they add to it and they add value and it makes a good idea even better because they put in from where they sit and their unique ability and their spin on it. So then now you even have a better idea. So this kind of reminds me of collaboration that we've talked about before.
Yeah, I think it like just multiplies the idea.
And I went and told John this. You know how when somebody that you really admire admits something that you go, oh God, I thought that was only me. Thank God it's you. You know? Well, he was telling a story about an old assistant. And he says, she came to him one day and she said, I can't find this answer, or I can't find, and so he said, and I'm sure he did it in such a very sweet, kind, way. He said,
John.
well, he sit down here. And so what he did was it took him maybe 30 minutes or so, but he basically showed her how to find the answer. Because he said there is always an answer.
Yeah.
Is it not an answer, or you can't find the answer?
Oh.
And so that was huge because, I think sometimes people are so willing to say, oh, well, I can't find this, or I don't know where the answer is, or there's not an answer. And if you just say there's always an answer. And I always say all the time, I hate the word no. So don't even give it to me. I hate it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that means when you hear no, you just go ahead and figure, okay, there's an answer here somewhere. I just got to figure out what it is.
Yep.
And then he said, second, there is more than one answer. So there's not only one answer. And he said, third, there's always a better answer.
Oh, wow.
So sometimes we just stop with the first answer, but there's more than one. And then sometimes there's always, and even when you get to one, there's always even a better one.
Yeah.
This one was big. He said, bring people together, not divide people. So I thought about instances on this. And I see this a lot where people don't even realize that they're doing it. And I've probably certainly been guilty of it myself. But let's say you have a person that is not a giver and you're in a conversation with them and you hear them saying things that are actually divisive. I think we sometimes just shake our head or just whatever. And what that really is supporting to that person is this is okay. Instead of saying, well, I see it differently. What if we looked at it like this? And you did a way for it to not be decisive. You see what I'm saying?
Yep. Yep. Don't be afraid to
speak up about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think people don't understand that every little divisive thing you do or say, even though it might not be seen or heard, it does damage. It doesn't really help you accomplish big things, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he said, leadership skills must have two things. Must have both. Good leaders must have leadership skills and good values. You can't not have both of those. Yeah. And then he said, leadership takes courage. He said, remember Moses led whiny people in the desert for 40 years.
Yeah.
And he says, when trust is gone, leadership follows. So when people lose trust in you, your leadership goes.
Yeah, we
And
learned
number
so
three,
much of that from Henry Cloud.
yeah. Number three, don't take shortcuts. You can't moan and lead at the same time.
I've heard him say that before, and I love that. And I
Yeah.
can think of so many people that I have lost respect for because they did that exact thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Matter of fact, there was a situation not too long ago that I think Preston was with me or something, and he said, I really don't take what they say with value because they're always complaining. That's
Totally. Yeah.
so true. People begin to tune you out and
Yep.
not see your value because you're always moaning and complaining.
Yep. Yeah. Very true. Yeah.
And then he talked about emotional capacity and how important that is. And we've learned that from fierce conversations and stuff. He said, emotional capacity is your ability to handle adversity, and who you are comes out in adversity.
Yep.
How you handle problems and how you perform under pressure.
Which I think, Linda, that's going to be so important going into next year. And even just with so many things that we're facing right now in our industry, I think we're going to see a lot of people either they're going to be able to handle it because what's inside of them is going to come out, or what's inside of them is going to come out and they're not going to be able to handle it. I think that emotional capacity is going to be huge.
Yeah, and there's some other pieces I think that kind of tie into this a little bit later on here, but that we kind of need to be, some people that are being successful during this market need to understand. But he said on emotional intelligence, emotionally intelligent people are well grounded. He said humility is teachable. You can teach humility. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Authenticity is when you're honest with each other.
Yeah.
If you are in love with things you did 6 months ago, you're not growing.
Wow, that's good.
He said, emotionally strong people avoid wasting time feeling sorry for themselves.
That's good too.
He says, life is not fair. Let facts of life be the facts of life and go fix the problem. And I think a lot of people, I mean, I've had so many stories this week, even of someone who financially is in a terrible shape and they're really at a decisive point. And the decisive point is I can sit around and whine and complain about it, or I can just go take the action steps it's going to take to get out of this situation and come out on the other side of it and fix my problem.
That reminds me of one thing real fast. I had John White, our financial advisor, who a lot of people love and use, on this week. And actually, we might maybe even use pieces of him for an episode now that I'm thinking about it, because it was very good. But he said on there right now, everybody in general gets used to like a lifestyle. And then as soon as something changes, you have two choices. You either, like the economy that we're in right now, you either have to change your lifestyle or you have to figure out how to make more money. And he said most people aren't willing to change their lifestyle, so they have to figure out how they can make more money. Or he said that's what most successful people will do. And then if you aren't willing to figure out how to make more money, and you aren't going to change your lifestyle, then eventually that's probably going to not lead down a good path. And that just made me think of that when you said that, because I think I just think we have a lot of changes going on right now. And people are really going to have to get emotionally strong with stuff.
Yes, for sure. My trainer was even talking this week about how he's wanting to buy a house where he could put a shop for he has a construction business on the side. And I guess him and his wife kind of do their money separately. And he's like, I thought we were on the same page, but she had all this credit card debt and she wasn't working as hard as I thought she should work to pay it off, And so, but he was just so upset that she wasn't on the same page as him, right? So they had to figure out how to have some meetings and, make a plan on getting that debt paid off and all of those kind of things. So I think, well, what he said from it was she's just in denial. It's like, it's over here. It's a stack of dirty something over here. I'm not going to look at it. And I think that's what a lot of people do. They just say, I just won't look at it.
Yeah.
And hopefully it'll go away.
Yep, totally.
And it doesn't. It just grows bigger. It's like a big pile of dirty clothes.
Yeah.
I love this one. He said, emotionally strong people avoid giving away their power. The weakest person in any the weakest person is in control. When you give away your power, weak people take over.
Yeah.
You can't take here's two things he says you can't take: my priorities or my values. He says, sit and make a list of what you are unwilling to give away. I thought that was good.
Okay, I was just getting ready to say, what would it look like to give away your power? But I guess that's true. If you compromised on your values or priorities, that would be giving away your power.
Yeah. Well, and I think of instances where I've had people in my life that, gosh, it's like, and it ties back to what I told you, Gary told me years ago, that when there's a word that someone continually uses against you, they're that word.
Yeah.
Well, in the beginning, you're like, ooh, is it me? Am I doing that? Is there something wrong with me? Because this person seems like they got their crap together. So it must be me. And you do a little bit of that.
Yep.
And then you realize, okay, this is no. So I think the clearer you get on your priorities and values, the easier those decisions are, right? You don't spend very much time questioning. You're like, okay, this is a weak person trying to make their priorities my priorities.
Yeah.
And I've always said it before too, like when I was selling real estate, when a person wouldn't follow my process, I always said it means one thing: they have an agenda, and their agenda has nothing to do with me getting paid.
Yeah, that's true. That's good.
Right. So I think that's why spending time on getting our priorities and our values and how we want to spend our time is important, because I've already got a request that came in a couple days ago, and they were asking me to be on a panel at this thing in Florida. And I'm asking myself, okay, Linda, one of the things you said you want to make sure you do next year is spend time on the things that are important to you.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, gosh, by the time I fly there and I do whatever, I mean, yeah, and I don't mind. I do a lot of things that I don't mind that at all. But I don't know this person really. And, I'm like, So I asked, is it on Zoom? And they said, no, it's in person. I'm like, I'm not going to commit right now that I'm going to be in Florida on May when, you know what I'm saying? When I'm sitting here saying, I need to make sure I stay in line with my priorities. And so I think you have to find that space to ask myself, if these are my values and these are my priorities, how does this request actually filter in with what I say is important to me?
Yep, I think that's huge. Yep, I'm already trying to think about that for next year too.
And he says, you can only help out of your strengths. Anyone not succeeding will have a hard time with your success.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. If you are not happy for others, you will not be happy for yourself.
Yep.
And he said, if you do life in the deserve world, you will never be in the I serve world.
Wait, say that one again.
If you do life in the I deserve world, you will never be able to be in the I serve world.
Oh, that's good.
So you'll be so focused on what you deserve and should be getting. And he says, am I a taker or a giver? And then the last one I put on here, I've got more, but he says, we view the motives of others as we are. When it's about me and applause, the well will never be full.
Yeah.
When it's about me and applause, the well will never be full.
Yeah, that's so good. So true. Man, that's so good. I don't know, Linda, you're right. I don't know if it's that we hear stuff different another time, or if it's totally new stuff, or if he's never said it before, or what. But I do the same thing with some of that stuff. But some of those I've never heard him say.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, I always said when the student's ready, the teacher appears. But I think when you come back, and this is where a lot of people mess up and they won't go back. They'll be like, oh, I heard John one time, or I heard this person one time. And I think as long as there's wisdom there, and I haven't done 100% of what I've learned from them, I got to go back. I mean, I've been sitting in front of Gary Keller for over 30 years. Yeah. And what I've noticed is the stuff that I've actually applied, my life has changed drastically. Yeah. But the stuff that I have to keep hearing over and over and over again, and I'm not applying, I need to hear it again because it's not showing up in my life.
Yep. So true. So true. So those are all great. Wow, really, I tried. I didn't get to write all of them down, but I wrote a lot of them down. um, other than John, who was your favorite, or what was your favorite thing you guys did this time?
I think Jesse Cole.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah, he's my favorite, and I think it's because he talked about the creativity and how important it is to let people have their ideas and to throw every idea up, no matter how horrific it seems.
Yeah.
Because out of those, he said most of the ideas they try fail.
Yeah.
But it's a few that stick and do really, really well. And I think a lot of times it's just that we don't have enough ideas.
Yeah.
I remember when Gary talked about writing 100 ideas on the board, and one of those ideas was the MREA book.
Wow.
They sat in a room and they wrote 100 ideas on the board, and one of them was the MREA book, and that's the one they landed on.
Wow.
So I think we don't, well, again, it's back to finding space and time to sit around and do. I think I'm learning more and more. Brainstorming is so important to me.
Yeah.
Because like we sat down with a meeting with Sarah and Press on Tuesday, and what I love is it's kind of like what we learned from the beach ball. When you listen to other people, and he says it too, when you share ideas, the ideas get better because you're listening to each other and each person's adding something else to it. But I realized one of my issues is I don't brainstorm enough.
Yeah.
I don't actually pencil in brainstorming time.
Yep. We need to make sure we have that on both of our calendars for next year.
Yeah, because I think that's where the magic kind of happens.
Yeah.
And it may not even happen right at that meeting, but as you leave and process everything, I think good ideas and great ideas will sprout to the top.
Yep, totally agree.
And I had a call, which we'll talk about this with our next guest, but I've had a call with a person earlier that had never been in this kind of market before. And one of my big ahas was most people have the answers inside of them. It's when you talk it out with someone else that you actually get clear that you do have the answer.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah. Otherwise, we're looking for the answer outside or somewhere else, and that answer is never in there. Somebody was telling a story, or I was reading a story the other day about the guy that lost his key, and he's looking. And I think Wayne Dyer told this story years ago, maybe a little differently, but pretty close. But he's looking outside under the street light for the key, and they're saying, "Why? What are you looking for?" And he said, "Well, my key." And they said, "Well, why are you looking out here? Because you lost it in the house." You know what I mean? So, but he said, "This is where the light's brighter." So I think sometimes we just need to talk it out or brainstorm. Yeah. Because I think we try to expect that we don't have the answer when I think we always have the answer somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I think that's so good. I think we just get caught in the day-to-day just crap.
Do you ever feel like this? Or you're almost afraid for it to be December because then it's going to be January and then it's going to be December again?
Yes.
It's like you want to hang on to it. Like, okay, I want to hang on to it because the minute I don't, it's going to be like the next year and I won't have had time to get all the things I want to get done.
Yeah.
It's like, how do we slow down time? I think we do less and we say no more to certain things.
Yep.
And we build in those things that are not easy, like the thinking time, the writing, the things that John talks about he does every day, a little bit every day. It sounds painful even when I hear him say that, because I'm like, I don't even know how I would get that accomplished. I mean, I could, but it's not a big enough priority for me.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even if I just said, hey, for the first 30 days, I'm going to do this till I can make it a habit.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually had a really good brainstorming session, Kate, with your better half earlier today, Tyler, our fave, on some social media and branding stuff that we're going to be working on next week. And he gave me, I just jotted down like all these things as he was saying them, because he's just so creative and he was, sprouting out all these ideas of things for my social media for next year. And it was interesting because after like we got done, he said, I feel like we've been talking about this for 7 years. I said, I feel like we've been talking about this for 7 years too. And I didn't want to say it. And he said, we just have to prioritize and just do it. And I was like, I know, we really do.
Yeah. Do you ever find yourself getting tired of hearing yourself say you need to do the same thing over again that you've already been saying you need to do?
Yes.
I have a saying that says, okay, I'm really getting tired of hearing myself say that I'm going to do that. So what is a way I can get myself to do that?
Yeah. And I know for me, because you've taught me this, if I'm not doing it, somebody else has to be involved.
Yeah.
Because there's a reason why I'm not doing it. And so I've got to get somebody else involved to help me get it done.
Yeah. Usually you're missing a who. I'm always missing a who because you or I, neither one are really procrastinators.
No.
Something's not getting done. It's because we're missing a who.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. Awesome. Well, those were great. Super great. We'll have to do another one where you share more on Jesse, because we had Jesse on our podcast, but God, that's been 2 years ago when he was just very first kind of getting started. So I can't imagine the growth that he's had since then.
Yeah. I tell you one thing that he did was, I'll save it for the next episode when we do the Jesse episode, because it was really
cool. Okay.
Yeah. Cliffhanger. You got to listen to that episode. Awesome. All right. So remember, if you have not hit the subscribe button, please go ahead and hit that button right now. And the greatest compliment you can give Dana and I is to pass this podcast along to anyone that you think would benefit from these conversations, and leave us a great review. That would really be helpful to have other people find the podcast. And if you have a guest, a challenge, or an opportunity that you'd like to be shared on the podcast, reach out to us at info@everything life and real estate. Dana, I guess I'll see you next week.
Sounds good. See you then.
Be sure to subscribe for more business strategies and tactics to inspire you to live an abundant real estate life. Don't forget to rate and review so we can bring you the best content. Find this and other valuable information at everythinglifeandrealestate.com.